Hey guys, welcome back. So I realized I didn't introduce myself properly in my first video. My name is Lota Ofodile. I am 19 years old. I am Nigerian and I am a college student in the United States. So sorry about that. So today we're going to be discussing interdenominational and inter-religious marriages and relationships. Um, I chose this topic because I feel very strongly about it and I have just really strong opinions about it. And I have friends and family members who are in this kind of situations. And I know there are people out there who are in similar situations or considering getting into relationships like this. So I hope this helps and I hope this is interesting and gets all of us thinking. Um, so by interdenominational, I mean Catholic versus non-Catholic, for example, or Baptist versus Methodist, or Lutheran versus Anglican, something like that. And by interreligious, obviously, I mean Christian versus Muslim, or just, two people from different religions getting together. Um, so generally, I think people tend to feel like it's not a big deal at all. Like people don't think it's a problem, and it's like it's fine. We'll work things out. It's not going to be a problem. I wouldn't give up a relationship. I mean, just because of religious differences. Even if our friends or families don't approve, then we'll just work things out, and it's fine. We'll figure things out. When we get to that bridge, we'll cross it, and things like that, which is nice and fine, and it does work out for some people. Um, but it's not as simple as it seems, I guess. I mean, people, especially Nigerians, I think tend to equate it to like the whole intertribal thing Nigerian parents make a big deal out of. So Nigerian parents, some of them are like, you can't get married to somebody who's not from our tribe or who's not from our state, and they just make a really big deal out of it. And I'm sure they have their reasons, but the whole inter-religious, interdenominational thing is a little bit more complicated because obviously anything that has to do with religion is more serious than other related issues. And there's just a lot more to think about and to consider when it comes to these kind of situations. So I'll give you my personal views and just tell you how I feel about this situation and why I feel this way. So basically, it's a big no-no for me. I cannot do it and I will not do it. I don't see myself getting into a relationship with somebody who is not Catholic. I'm Catholic. I was born Catholic. I was raised Catholic. I'm a practicing Catholic, and I hope to die Catholic. So I'm just really comfortable with being Catholic, and I really don't want that to change, and I don't want to have to compromise that, for somebody, for whatever reason. So before you say anything or judge or anything, I just want to say that it's not because I have anything against non-Catholics or non-Christians or anybody else for that matter. But then it's just a personal thing. So obviously I just want to add that this the success of this kind of relationships and just how it's going to affect the dynamic of the whole relationship depends on the people involved and the individuals in relationships themselves. So it's going to be different for somebody who's like a nominal Christian, for example, who just like goes to church on Sundays, whatever Sundays they feel like, and really it's not a big deal. They're not so religious about their religion. And it's going to be a completely different story for like a practicing, I want to use the word devout, Catholic, for example, who like goes to mass who absolutely has to go for mass every single Sunday, who like goes for confessions and, takes communion and things like that. Just it's going to be different. So it depends on the people involved. So like I said earlier, it's a big no-no for me. I cannot do it and I wouldn't do it. I don't see myself getting into a relationship with somebody who's not Catholic. And I say get into a relationship because I'm one of those people who believes that if the relationship isn't headed towards marriage, possibly, if marriage isn't a possible outcome of the relationship, then why get into a relationship in the first place? And this is a discussion for a different day, but that's how I feel. So I have my reasons and I'm going to share them with you. First of all, there's issue of common ground. That's like the reason, one of the basic reasons people come together in the first place. Whatever group of people you find, whatever union there is, it's because there's some form of common ground on which they can relate to each other and they share, beliefs, or they have the same principles, the similar principles, or things like that. It's just like mutual understanding, right? So I want to be able to have that with my partner or boyfriend or husband or whatever. I don't want to be in a relationship with somebody whom I don't agree on certain things with. Certain things that, are probably things that will come up more often than other topics and things that are fundamental to who I am and just my existence. So, for example, I'm anti-abortion because I'm Catholic and, I just don't believe in taking the life of another person. And so if you're not Catholic, for example, you might not share that same view, and so probably, argue about things like that. I don't want to be watching a TV show and something comes up and I want to discuss it, and I have like a Catholic approach to it or something, and then we're arguing about it just because you don't see it that way, probably because you're not Catholic, things like that. So I just would want to avoid that. I want to avoid unnecessary arguments, because in my opinion, they're unnecessary arguments if they can be avoided, and if not for the fact that we had opposing religious views, we wouldn't be having these arguments in the first place. Secondly, there's the issue of praying and worshiping with the person you're involved with. So for me, prayer is it's the deepest form of connection you can have to somebody or with somebody. It's like deepest level of commitment. I feel like if I can pray with you, like we can't go any further with our relationship. So I can pray with my family members, I can pray with my friends and my close friends. I want to be able to pray with, the person I love or the person I like. If I can't pray with you, then, I don't know. There's just this sense of fulfillment, or not even fulfillment. It's kind of like we're, presenting the relationship to God for some form of validation or approval or something like that. So I want to be able to pray with you, So if I'm praying the rosary, I want to be able to pray the rosary with you. I don't like, if you're, and forms of prayer are different, even amongst like Christians. So Catholics pray a certain way, and there's a non-Catholic Protestant, typical kind of prayer. So for example, Protestants, some of them tend to, speak in tongues and things like that, and Catholics usually don't tend to do that. So that, I'll be thrown off. For example, like I can't speak in tongues, and quite frankly, if you're speaking in tongues, there's just, there's, okay, so if I can't pray with you, I wouldn't want to be in a relationship with you. Thirdly, there's issue of, let's say we ignore all of that or we get past that somehow, and the relationship is getting to the stage of marriage. So we're, planning the wedding and things like that. So where's the wedding ceremony going to take place? Are we getting married in my church or in your church? Are we going to have to argue and get, family members involved and things like that just to, settle on what church we're going to have the ceremony in, and am I going to have to give up that wedding I've been dreaming of, with the priest and the perfect song and things like that, just because I have to get married in a church, for example. And when we get married, like what's going to happen? What's a regular Sunday going to be like? Am I going to mass alone? Are you going to mass to your church alone? Do you expect me to like follow you because I'm your wife? Am I expecting you to follow me to church? Are we going to have to like alternate and compromise? And honestly, I don't want to be in a situation where I have to compromise my faith or my beliefs or just my values for somebody that I love. I wouldn't want to make somebody else have to compromise that or change that just for me. So I just would avoid getting myself in this kind of situation. And then obviously when children come along, it's a completely different thing. It's more complicated and there's just more to think about. So are the kids going to church with one parent or the other parent? Am I taking some kids with me and are you taking some kids with you? Are they like growing up hearing good things and then they have to choose, or what values are we bringing them up with? So are they going to have to argue amongst themselves? For example, if one child prefers this church and the other child prefers that church, and this church is telling this child this thing and the other church says a completely different thing, are they going to, what are the children learning, and like what values do they have from, their parents and from their religion? So basically, it's just, I feel it's a source of unnecessary conflict and, problems and just trouble generally in the home and in the family and just in the relationship. It might put a strain on the relationship and it might actually end something really beautiful just, for that reason. So if you're considering getting into a relationship like this, you think about things like this, you have to talk about these things with your partner, and you have to know yourself and know the person you're getting into a relationship with, and know if the person is willing to compromise, if it's going to be a problem for the person in the long run, if you really want that for yourself and that for your partner and things like that. I don't think you can change somebody, right, just because they love you or something, or you're married now. So don't think they're going to give up a huge part of their lives or just even a little part of their lives just for you or just to be with you. So when I ask people about this, everybody's like, yeah, sure, I can date, I can obviously get married to somebody who's not Catholic. I ask my male friends, and they're like, yeah, I can do that, it's not going to be a problem. I'm like, so what's gonna happen after you get married? Like, oh yeah, my wife will convert to my church. Now my wife will follow me to church, or the kids are going to come to church with me. You know, things like that. And I want to say that I think more often than not, it tends to be the woman who compromises or has to adjust to accommodate the man's religion or denomination or whatever. Or more often than not, the kids end up going to the dad's church or just taking up the dad's religion and things like that. I'm not going to go into the feminist, whatever, any aspects of that, but I'm just saying it's what I've seen and observed. It's what happens, I think, mostly. So just think about this. This is not to discourage anybody out there. I just think there are things that you need to discuss. And this is not to say, obviously, that these things don't work out. Because like I said earlier, I have friends and family members in these situations. And, you know, they're still married and they seem very happy. And things are working out. So obviously, they do work out. But then, you know, just in the event that these kind of things are your concerns and they might affect the relationship, then maybe you should just reconsider. So thank you guys for watching. I'm really sorry if I offended anybody in whatever way. That was not my intention. I was just voicing my opinions, and we are all entitled to opinions. So please don't take anything personally, or don't take offense to anything I said. Please share and subscribe. I look forward to your thoughts and your comments and even ideas and suggestions for possible, you know, for future videos and things to discuss. Also today is TGIT. You know, thank God it's Thursday, and Shonda Rhimes is doing it for the guys and the girls out there. You know, Scandal is returning, Grey's Anatomy, and How to Get Away with Murder. And I watch all 3 shows. They're so amazing. So I hope you guys see and enjoy the shows. See you guys next time. Thank you. Bye.